What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Mystery Files, and today I have a good story for you, but I'm going to be doing some additions coming up soon, including a podcast, and also I'm thinking about not only creating merchandise just for the rare few that want it, but also quick question that I need you to respond in the comments. If I was to create a reward system, would you like that to be on Patreon, which means you would just have to go on Patreon for bonus stuff and stuff like that? Or would you like it to be how you see on channels once you hit subscribe, there's a join button? I can do the join route or the Patreon route. I really kind of want to do the Patreon route because there's a bunch of other things I could give you on there, but I want to know your comments down below. That'd be awesome. I'd appreciate it. And right before we get into the story, please do me a huge favor. It really helps with the algorithm and it helps my channel so much. Please hit that like button and let's try to get up to at least 60 likes. I would highly appreciate it. Okay, so today's story, we have multiple people in it that just go vanish, and I want you to determine if this place is real, because if it is, it could be worse than the Bermuda Triangle, because this one is on land. So without any further ado, as of now, it's time to slip into a mind that's not our own. Let's go. Annie McCarrick had journeyed to Dublin, Ireland in 1987. She had been connecting with her Irish heritage for the past 5 years, but when she set out on a daytime hike one day, she vanished without a trace, and all attempts to locate her were unsuccessful. And it seems like she was the first woman to go missing in this so-called Vanishing Triangle, which covers roughly a triangular area of land between the towns of Louth, Wexford, and Offaly. I hope I said those right. But this expanse includes parts of various counties, as well as the country's capital city of Dublin. In March 1993, Annie made a fateful promise to her friends that she would meet them for the next day for dinner. But when they arrived at her apartment, her door was locked and no answer met their desperate knocks. Her parents from Long Island eventually received a late-night call that their daughter had vanished, and they quickly flew to Ireland, unaware of the horrific truth hidden in that region. Young women were being snared in a deadly trap. 6 whole months of searching led to no answers but one clue. A doorman at Johnny Fox's pub revealed that Annie had been there with a man earlier on the day of her disappearance. The police in Ireland are called the Gardaí, and the Gardaí investigated, but any hope of discovering information soon faded away. Then, 4 months after she vanished, another woman disappeared, echoing the same fate as Annie McCarrick's before her. Eva Brennan's fists clenched and her brow furrowed in rage as the argument with her parents escalated. With one final scowl, she stormed out of their home in Terenure, Dublin on July 25th, 1993. A decision that was to haunt her family forever. Not hearing from Eva over the days that followed, a heavy dread descended upon her parents until they found the courage to bravely venture to her apartment. But all that hope just evaporated when they found no trace of her daughter there. And seconds later, they were making a desperate rush to the Gardaí station with their hearts pounding in fear. And every available resource was deployed to search for Eva, but it seemed that the pleas were ignored as hours stretched into days without even the slightest hint of her whereabouts, until the shocking truth emerged that Eva had been labeled a person that was mentally unstable and might have taken her own life. Wherever she was, it seemed like nobody would ever find her alive. Her parents refused to accept this tragic conclusion, however, refusing to give up hope until she is finally brought home. For story number 3, Elda De Keenan's typical afternoon errand to the post office suddenly became anything but ordinary. She strolled towards Lombard Street at 1:30 p.m. on a holiday, knowing full well that the post office was closed. but her destination was never reached. Imelda disappeared also without a trace. Then her brother reported her missing the following day, yet something strange you could feel was lingering in the air. Her purse remained in the apartment, and Mark Wall, her boyfriend, had failed to call the police when she did not return home. But unconvinced by his apparent indifference, the police quickly cast him aside as they neglected to launch a thorough investigation to find Imelda. Then JoJo Dollard, a 21-year-old from Callan, Kilkenny, had gone to Dublin for beauty therapy classes but dropped out after she decided she wanted to go back home. And on the 9th of November 1995, she missed the last bus to take her there, and now she had to find another way. And instead of, finding a place to stay for the night and then continuing on, JoJo got onto a bus going to Naas, located 65 miles away from her hometown. She then hitchhiked literally until 11:30 p.m. when she reached Moan and called up one of her acquaintances. She told them that she was looking for a ride, and right when she said that, a car had pulled up. When the car pulled up, JoJo says, "It looks like I found a ride, I gotta go." And then following that phone call, JoJo never returned or was heard from again. Then, Fiona Pender vanished without a trace one fateful morning in 1996, just 7 months pregnant, 25 years old, and with her whole future ahead of her. She stepped into the void and never returned. 9 long years passed until a hiker stumbled upon a small wooden cross in the vast Slieve Blue Mountains bearing Fiona's name, suggesting that she was buried somewhere in the unforgiving wilderness. And despite intense searches, no trace of Fiona has ever been found. Not to mention the tragedy continued. On the evening of February 13th, 1997, 17-year-old Ciara Breen was watching TV with her mother before they both went to bed at around 12:30. An hour and a half later, Ciara's mother decided to take a bathroom break, which led her to find that her daughter was gone from her bedroom. So the police were called in, and it soon became apparent that Ciara had been sneaking out of the house at night and returning before morning. She had done this now numerous times. This time, however, she never made it back home. And during the investigation, Ciara's friends told the authorities about Liam Mullen, someone who lived on their street and seemed obsessively infatuated with Ciara, yet was constantly snubbed by her and her friends. And he was arrested twice in connection with Ciara's disappearance, but was ultimately released due to lack of sufficient evidence. And in 2017, Mullen passed away while he was under arrest for an unrelated crime. By then, 6 women were already reported missing. And I actually did the story of Ciara Breen as one of my first stories that I ever told. And I will put a link to it in the description, or I'll put it up right here or in the cards. And the drama and trauma continue, because on February 8th, 1998, 19-year-old Fiona Sinot joined the list of 7 people who had now gone missing. She and her partner, Sean Carroll, were at a pub with some buddies that night, then returned to their flat where Fiona went to bed and Sean toppled over on the couch and fell into a slumber. In the following morning, Sean ventured out to collect their 11-month-old daughter from his mom's place while Fiona remained at the apartment. And when he got back home, Fiona was nowhere to be found, just like Elda De Keenan's case. This one left law enforcement officers literally scratching their heads. Not a single item of clothing belonging to Fiona had been left behind in the room. And after police put out an inquiry for information, a farmer told them that he had found a few sacks of clothes on his property. Some of the clothing was tagged with Fiona Sinot's name, but him at the time, not realizing the significance, he burned the clothing as he did with all the garbage that people would dump on him. So the police decided to actually leave this matter alone. And had they investigated Sean Carroll further, they would have discovered he later served time in jail for threatening to murder his cousin. I know I'm throwing a lot at you right now, guys, but There's a reason for this. The last woman to go missing from the Vanishing Triangle was another teenager, 18-year-old Deardra Jacob. This is the most perplexing of all the disappearances. Deardra was a student at St. Mary's University in London. She was home for the holidays at this time, and on July 28th, 1998, she was seen walking along the street towards her parents' house. It was mid-afternoon and there was plenty of traffic out. Both pedestrian and cars were all around. And Deardra was last spotted waiting to cross the road to her family home. She vanished from a very busy street in broad daylight, and no one saw one thing at all. Deardra Jacob's vanishing was the last connected to the Vanishing Triangle, although there were at least 5 more cases in the same period that had a conclusion. The remains of these victims revealed signs of sexual assault, battery, and strangulation. And it's sad to say, but this is likely what happened to the 8 missing women as well. But who is behind these heinous acts? Is it a serial killer? Or are they all unrelated except for their vicinity? The Gardaí do have an opinion on this. They believe one single person is responsible, and they think they know who. In the year 2000, a woman was taken from Carlo Street, driven into the Wicklow Mountains, and experienced horrible sexual assault. The attacker's hands clamped around her throat like a vice, cutting off her air supply. And desperately, she clawed at his arms, mainly trying to break free from this deadly grip. And with each passing second, she was slipping closer and closer to the oblivion, until the fateful twist of fate had intervened. 2 hunters were walking on the mountain trail when they heard the woman's desperate cry for help, and they rushed to her aid. Now, confronted with 2 armed men instead of one helpless woman, the assailant was quickly overpowered by their combined force. And his name was Larry Murphy, and he had a long list of run-ins with the Gardaí. He was eventually convicted of sexual assault and attempted murder, and he was sentenced to 20 years in prison. But the police wondered if this could be the only attack that Murphy was responsible for. He lived close enough to 3 of the missing women within the Vanishing Triangle: Deardra Jacob, JoJo Dollard, and Annie McCarrick. So could he really be the one behind this? Murphy himself was a craftsman who had done work for Deardra's grandmother. Could that be how he managed to kidnap her from a crowded street? Possibly. He knew her and possibly could have talked her into getting into his vehicle. And it is a plausible idea, but unfortunately, there is no proof for it. Larry Murphy denies any links to the vanished people. The mystery of the Vanishing Triangle to this day remains unsolved. So if you ever find yourself in this spot in Ireland called the Vanishing Triangle, be sure to at least grab a buddy or be with several different people, women, ladies, whatever. If you are alone, do not go walking around these parts, because we've seen time and time again that you'll go in, but you might not come out. Thank you guys so much. After a lot of true crime, I just thought I would throw a little mystery at you today. Basically, this is a regrouping week, and I'm going to have a lot of good stuff for you next week, plus other announcements. But like I said at the beginning, please let me know what you prefer, whether it's Patreon or the join button. And if you haven't done this already, please like this video and subscribe, and let's try to get this up to 60 likes. That's all I got for you today. Cheers.